Forget the Hollywood version with swinging doors, piano music, and quick-draw duels at high noon. The real saloons of the American Wild West were something else entirely. Gritty, chaotic, and packed with characters that could drink you under the table and cheat you blind at poker before you knew what hit you. From sawdust-covered floors to whiskey that could double as paint thinner, saloons were the beating heart of frontier towns. And they weren't always as glamorous or safe as the movies would have you believe. So saddle up as we dive into the wild truth behind these legendary watering holes. And if you're into gritty history, strange facts, and the real stories of the Old West, hit that subscribe button and join us on the trail. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Western saloons were a distinctive type of drinking establishment found throughout the American frontier during the 19th century. More than just bars, these places catered to a wide variety of people living or passing through the West. Patrons included fur traders, cattle herders, soldiers, timber workers, businessmen, law officers, gamblers, miners, and even those living outside the law. The saloon was often one of the first businesses to open in a developing town, serving both social and practical needs. These establishments were sometimes known by other colorful names, such as watering troughs, bug houses, shebangs, cantinas, grog shops, or gin mills, terms that reflected regional slang or the saloon's reputation. The earliest recorded saloon was established in 1822 at Brown's Hole, a remote area in what is now Wyoming. It was created specifically to meet the needs of fur trappers working in the wilderness, offering a rare place for rest and refreshment. By the late 19th century, saloons had become widespread across the West. In Leavenworth, Kansas, around 1880, there were reportedly 150 saloons in operation, along with several wholesale liquor distributors, an indication of just how integral these establishments had become to daily life in some towns. While some saloons functioned as respectable community hubs, others offered more than just drinks. It was not uncommon for certain locations to combine entertainment, such as card games, companionship, and recreational drug use, reflecting the looser regulations and moral codes on the frontier. History: saloons. By the early 1880s, saloons in the United States began forming close ties with breweries. As beer production outpaced demand, many breweries turned to a model borrowed from Britain called the tied house system. Under this arrangement, breweries directly owned and operated saloons, ensuring a stable market for their products. Companies like the Schlitz Brewing Company led the way by constructing ornate and well-appointed saloons. These establishments not only served as places to drink, but also functioned as marketing tools, showcasing the brewery's brand and drawing in customers through attractive surroundings and reliable service. Because saloons were such active social spaces, they also became hubs for local politics. Politicians often visited them to connect with constituents and stay informed about community sentiments, making saloons an informal yet influential part of the political landscape. Opposition to saloons began to organize more formally in the 1890s. In 1893, the Anti-Saloon League was founded with the goal of curbing alcohol consumption and limiting the influence of drinking establishments. By 1895, it had become a national organization and quickly rose to prominence as a leading force in the movement for prohibition. It soon surpassed older groups like the Women's Christian Temperance Union and the Prohibition Party in influence and effectiveness. The League focused its efforts on changing public policy. It lobbied at the local, state, and federal levels to promote laws banning the production and sale of alcoholic beverages, including beer, wine, and spirits. In Arizona, new league chapters formed in cities such as Yuma, Tucson, and Phoenix after 1906. Local members began advocating for stricter enforcement of liquor laws, urging authorities to revoke licenses from saloons that stayed open beyond legal hours or served women and underage patrons. To support their cause, league activists often supplied testimony and evidence of misconduct. Their persistence contributed to a national shift in attitudes toward alcohol and public behavior. This movement ultimately reached its peak in 1920, when the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution established nationwide prohibition. However, public support for the ban declined over time, and in 1933, the 21st Amendment repealed it, bringing an end to one of the most ambitious social experiments in American history. Brewery lunch. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many American saloons adopted a clever marketing practice known as the free lunch. This offer provided a meal at no additional cost as long as the customer purchased at least one drink. The tradition became widespread across the United States and is often mentioned in American literature, dating from the 1870s to the 1920s. While some free lunches were simple, others were quite generous, offering a variety of dishes that far exceeded the value of the drink required to access them. Saloon owners knew that while the initial drink might seem like a bargain, many patrons would end up ordering several beverages. In this way, the cost of the food was often recouped, and sometimes exceeded, through continued sales of alcohol. Beyond boosting sales, the free lunch also helped build customer loyalty and encourage regular visits, particularly during quieter hours. It became both a practical business tool and a recognizable symbol of the social culture found in many saloons during that era. The look and feel of a saloon often depended on its location and the time period in which it operated. In the early frontier days or in isolated areas, saloons were often makeshift spaces, basic in design, sparsely furnished, and with little in the way of decoration. In colder climates, a simple wood-burning stove might serve as the only source of heat. As communities expanded and became more established, saloons followed suit, evolving into more polished and better-equipped establishments. Bartenders in these places took pride not only in their appearance, but also in their skill at mixing and serving drinks. One of the most recognizable features of many traditional saloons was the set of bat-wing doors at the entrance. These short swinging doors, usually hinged to open in both directions, typically reached from about chest to knee height and became an enduring symbol of the Old West. In more remote parts of the West, alcoholic beverages were sometimes sold from wagons or served in buildings made from materials that were readily available. These might include sod structures, the hulls of abandoned ships, or even rooms carved into hillsides. In more developed areas, it was common for hotels to feature attached saloons. In independent establishments like the Barlow Trail Saloon in Damascus, Oregon, often included features like porches lined with railings. Cultural background also influenced how saloons looked and operated. Irish-owned saloons often featured stand-up bars, where whiskey was the preferred drink. These establishments sometimes limited service to women, requiring them to enter through a back entrance, if at all. German saloons tended to have a different atmosphere. They were typically brighter, offered sit-down meals, and encouraged a family-friendly environment. Germans also clashed with temperance advocates, particularly over the issue of Sunday business hours and the operation of beer gardens outside city centers. Other immigrant groups brought their own traditions into the saloon world. Many added unique food items from their homelands to the menu or buffet. Meanwhile, some communities, such as Scandinavians, Jews, Greeks, and Italians, tended to favor private clubs or social gatherings over public drinking establishments, and their public consumption of alcohol was generally more limited. Entertainment. Saloons in the Old West were more than just places to drink. They also served as centers of entertainment. One of their most eye-catching attractions was the presence of dancing girls. In many establishments, some of these women also engaged in sex work, either occasionally or as a regular part of their role, which was a reflection of the economic and social realities of the time. To keep customers engaged, saloons also featured a variety of gambling games. Popular choices included faro, poker, brag, three-card Monte, and games involving dice. As competition among saloons increased and profits grew, other leisure activities were added. Billiards, darts, and even early forms of bowling became part of the entertainment mix. Some of the more established saloons offered live music, with piano players setting the mood. Others added variety-style entertainment, such as can-can dancers and short theatrical performances. A modern recreation of this experience can still be seen today in the Long Branch Variety Show at the reconstructed Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City, Kansas. When towns were first established, saloons were often quite primitive, sometimes no more than tents or hastily built wooden shacks. The whiskey served in these early days was often homemade and included ingredients like raw alcohol, burnt sugar, and chewing tobacco to create a drinkable product. As towns expanded and became more prosperous, saloons evolved into more refined spaces. Interiors were often decorated with fine glassware, also known as bohemian stemware, and artwork such as oil paintings adorned the walls. The quality of liquor improved as saloons began importing whiskey from the eastern U.S. and even Europe. To avoid the low-quality rot-gut liquor of earlier days, customers started requesting mixed drinks. By 1881, popular beverages included claret sangarees and champagne flips, early examples of American cocktail culture. Beer was a common choice as well, though it was typically served at room temperature because refrigeration technology was still rare. This began to change in 1880, when Adolphus Busch introduced refrigeration and pasteurization to his Budweiser brand. Some saloons stored kegs on interior racks, while others brewed their own beer on site. Oddly enough, a cinematic portrayal in the 1948 film Fort Apache even shows beer being stored in chairs, an artistic flourish more than a historical norm. Notable saloons. Some of the most iconic saloons of the American West gained legendary reputations for their atmosphere, characters, and role in frontier society. Well-known examples include the First Chance Saloon in Miles City, Montana, the Bull's Head in Abilene, Kansas, and the Arcade Saloon located in Eldora, Colorado. Other memorable establishments were the Holy Moses in Creede, Colorado, and the Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City, Kansas, still one of the most famous names from that era. Tombstone, Arizona, boasted the Birdcage Theater, which operated as both a saloon and a theater, while Virginia City, Nevada, was home to the colorfully named Bucket of Blood Saloon. In Langtree, Texas, the Jersey Lily was made famous by Judge Roy Bean, who styled himself as the law west of the Pecos. Many of these saloons welcomed patrons nearly around the clock. It wasn't unusual for them to operate 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, with closures typically reserved for Sundays or major holidays such as Christmas. Bull's Head. In the American West, saloons were sometimes at the center of local controversy or dramatic encounters. One such case involved Phil Coe, who co-owned the Bull's Head Saloon in Abilene, Kansas. To attract attention, Coe had a mural painted on the building's exterior, featuring a bull with explicit anatomical details. Many townspeople considered the image inappropriate, and it quickly drew complaints. At the time, the town marshal was James Wild Bill Hickok, who demanded the image be removed. When Coe refused to act, Hickok arranged for others to paint over the mural, which created personal tension between the two men. The disagreement contributed to an ongoing rivalry, and later that year, a confrontation between Hickok and Coe ended with Coe's death. Accounts of the incident vary, but it became one of many moments that added to Hickok's complex reputation as both lawman and gambler. Wild Bill's own life came to a sudden end not long after. On August 2, 1876, while playing cards at Saloon No. 10 in Deadwood, South Dakota, he was shot from behind by a man named Jack McCall. According to legend, Hickok was holding a pair of aces and eights at the time, a combination that has since been called the dead man's hand. Wyatt Earp's Saloons. Wyatt Earp, known for his roles as a lawman and gambler, also had a long and varied career in the saloon business. Throughout his life, he either managed or co-owned several establishments, often in partnership with others. Earp arrived in Tombstone, Arizona, with two of his brothers on December 1, 1879. In early 1881, the owner of the Oriental Saloon, Lou Rickabaugh, offered Wyatt a 1/4 share in the faro operation in exchange for managing and overseeing the gaming tables. To help run the business, Wyatt brought in his longtime friend, Bat Masterson, who also had experience in both law enforcement and gambling. After leaving Tombstone in 1884, Wyatt, his wife Josie, and members of his family moved to Eagle City, Idaho, drawn by the promise of gold in the Murray Eagle Mining District. There, they opened a saloon called the White Elephant, which operated out of a large circus-style tent. A local newspaper even encouraged patrons to see the elephant, a popular phrase at the time meaning to experience something extraordinary. By 1885, Earp and Josie had relocated to San Diego, California. The city was in the midst of a real estate boom, and Wyatt became active in property speculation. Between 1887 and 1896, he owned or managed at least 3 saloons and gambling halls in the more reputable sections of town. These venues offered a wide variety of games, including faro, poker, blackjack, keno, and other popular games of the Victorian era like Monte and Pedro. At the peak of his business success, Wyatt was said to earn up to $1,000 per night. He especially favored the Oyster Bar and the Louis Bank of Commerce on Fifth Avenue, which he may have personally managed. In 1897, Wyatt and Josie traveled to Nome, Alaska, as part of the Alaska Gold Rush. During the summer of 1899, he operated a canteen and later that year partnered with Charles Ellsworth Hoxie to construct the Dexter Saloon. This establishment was notable as the first 2-story wooden building in Nome and quickly became the largest and most upscale saloon in town. Measuring 70 by 30 feet with 12-foot ceilings, the building served multiple purposes due to its size. The couple returned to California in 1901 with an estimated $80,000 in earnings. Not long after, in February 1902, Wyatt and Josie moved to Tonopah, Nevada, where a new gold discovery had sparked another rush. There, Wyatt opened the Northern Saloon and also served as a deputy U.S. Marshal under J.F. Emmett. For a time, his ventures in saloons, gaming, and mining proved financially rewarding. So the next time you picture a Wild West saloon, remember, it wasn't just about rowdy gunfights and whiskey shots. These saloons were complex social hubs, filled with hard work, rough entertainment, and a unique blend of chaos and community. They were a mirror of the wild, untamed spirit of the frontier itself. If you found this glimpse into the real Wild West saloons fascinating, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the truth behind the legends. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we uncover the stories and secrets that history books left out.